In this video, we're going to give you a sneak peek at the revamped version of the GTOx solver dashboard. This will be launched very soon, so we wanted to give subscribers a heads up on its new features. First and foremost, after many requests, we have finally relented and added the ability for users to view strategies within the combo matrix similar to other solvers. The reason why we omitted this feature in the first place was due to our overarching philosophy that any analysis, whether of a sim or of a hand at the felt, should start by thinking of ranges before thinking of individual combinations. However, the traditional combo grid used by most solvers naturally draws the user's eye to immediately start looking at individual combos. That's what this type of visualization is intended to do. Additionally, this type of average data visualization can be deceiving. For example, if a cell is shaded half bet and half check, it could mean that all of the combos in the range are splitting between betting and checking, or it could mean that half the combos are betting pure and half the combos are checking pure. You wouldn't know without hovering over the cell anyways. That all being said, having the ability to see what combos are doing at a glance can still be very useful, especially after you've already considered what the range and your hand class is doing. So we've decided to implement this feature, which we will demonstrate through an example. Here we're looking at a button versus big blind scenario from a 6 max cash game where the button just c-bet quarter pot and it's the big blind's turn to act. And let's say that the big blind has top pair. What should he do? Well, we see that sets and two pairs are essentially pure raises against this small bet, but top pair is splitting between raising and calling. So to refine our strategy, we need to drill down to the microanalysis to see how the solver is differentiating among combos in this bucket. However, previously, in order to do this, the user would need to either hover over each cell individually or examine individual combos within the hand matrix. So this information was always accessible, it just took a bit more work from the user to uncover it. And one thing that I've learned is that most poker players really do not like extra work. So now when you isolate a specific class of hands, the average action frequencies are shown directly within the matrix. This allows us to see very immediately how the solver is differentiating among its top pairs based on incremental equity, where top pairs with the stronger kickers are raising with higher frequency and top pairs with weaker kickers are mostly checking. And this information will update when we refine our bucket to just filter top pairs with a flush draw, or with a backdoor flush draw, or with no draw. Now let's assume that instead of top pair we have ace or king high. Well, here we see that this class is splitting between calling, folding, and raising, so we need to drill down further. So when we isolate our ace and king highs, we see that these combos without a draw are splitting between calling and folding. And when we isolate just these combos, we see very quickly where the cutoff points exist. Ace highs without a draw call until around ace 7, and king highs without a draw call until around king 9. In contrast, nearly all ace and king highs with either a flush draw or a backdoor flush draw are defending, and if we isolate just our flush draws to see how they're being played, we see that the solver is raising with much higher frequency with flush draws that have the lower kicker. We should note that by default, these action frequencies within the combo matrix will only show when the user filters the dashboard by either these bar charts, by the equity graph, or by the action table. However, for those that want to see these frequencies all the time, we've added this action button, which when clicked, will toggle this view on regardless of the filter status. Another change you may have noticed in the combo grid is that hands that are not in the range at all now have a darker color. The purpose of this change is to allow users to visualize the combos that are in the range even when filters are applied. So for example, let's say the big blind raises, the button calls, the turn is the 10 of clubs, and the big blind needs to decide if he should barrel holding weak pair. When we isolate this bucket, we see that the EV regret for all actions is relatively high, and there appears to be a pretty clear distinction between pocket pairs and bottom pair, which will often be the case. So what if we wanted to refine our bucket just to include 2x and not the pocket pairs? Well, the quickest and easiest way to do this is just by typing 2 in the hand table, but let's say we want to create our new bucket incrementally by adding specific combo clusters one by one. Well, previously if we clicked on a specific combo, you would lose track of all other combos in the range because they all disappear. But now, since the combos that are in the range are brighter, we can easily identify them and add them to our bucket. And now we see that betting all of our 2x 150% pot has an EV regret of 0.6%. So instead of trying to memorize the exact frequencies of these hands, we could just simplify our strategy by checking our low pocket pairs and barreling with our 2x, and we would have measurable confidence that this simplified strategy is generally consistent with GTO. Another modification we've made relates to the Sunburst, which was previously designed to visualize the average action frequencies used by the solver in different nodes of the game tree. I think this was one of those features that functioned better in theory than in practice, because once you got to later streets, the branches became so narrow they became virtually impossible to view. So we've converted the Sunburst into a simple pie graph, which now clearly depicts the average actions for the present node and adds external labels that converts the bet into percentages of the pot and converts raises into multiples of the last bet. And now, since the current node will always be visible, users can easily navigate to the next node in the game tree by clicking on the applicable segment or label that was taken in the hand history. And by moving tree navigation exclusively to this chart, this allowed us to combine the class and range action tables into one, which were somewhat redundant. So now the overall range frequencies are displayed as a default, but once the user starts adding filters to create buckets, the action table will automatically update to show the EVs, frequencies, and EV regret for the specific bucket. The other functionality of this table remains the same as the class action table from the previous dashboard, meaning we can filter by hands that take the available actions by clicking on that action. For some GTO check users that are used to navigating to future nodes through the range action table, this may take some getting used to, but I think overall this will be viewed as an improvement since it makes the dashboard more streamlined. By freeing up space that was previously taken by two action tables, this allowed us to expand the segment chart and the equity graph, which has proven to be a very powerful tool to help users build an intuitive understanding of range advantage and equity distributions. And finally, the last minor improvement we've made is users can now sort the hand table by combo rank. Previously, users were able to sort by actions and EVs, but not by combo rank. But sometimes we may want to compare how hands within the same cluster are playing, which we can now do by simply clicking the hand column header. So that's it for part 1 of the GTO Check 2.0 update. Look out for part 2, which we plan to announce later this month.